Are you thinking about moving to Sarasota in 2025 but are overwhelmed with all of the information out there, trying to figure out all the different parts of town? What area might be best for you and your family? Well, you are in the right place because today I'm diving deep into the 8 distinct areas of Sarasota and I'm breaking them down, and I'm going to be talking about the housing options, things to do nearby, lifestyle, pros and cons, and more. Oh, and make sure to stick around to the last 2 neighborhoods because they are by far my absolute favorite areas to live in Sarasota. I have a feeling this is going to be a long one, so grab a pen and paper and maybe some popcorn and strap in. All right guys, before we jump into it, if you're new here, my name is Zach Payne. I'm a born and raised local and real estate agent here in Sarasota, and I would love to be your real estate resource of choice when it comes time for you to move to Sarasota, Florida. So if you're considering making the move, reach out to me. I'd love to help you get started. Okay, let's get right into the first part of town. All right guys, the first part of town that we will be covering is Lakewood Ranch. Now, Lakewood Ranch is the newest and definitely the most developing area of Sarasota, and because of that, it's going to have the most options for new construction housing. It's also going to have the most amenities apart from kind of like downtown Sarasota. Think things like downtown shopping centers, events areas, sports and recreational parks, things like that. Lakewood Ranch is a great area for those who want to automatically be a part of a community where it's really easy to meet and interact with your neighbors. Because there are so many events and activities put on for the public, it's really easy to get yourself out there and meet new people here. Lakewood Ranch also has a ton of housing options, from neighborhoods starting at the mid to high 300s like Avalon Woods and Solera to more luxurious upscale neighborhoods with higher end real estate options like Lake House Cove or Wild Blue. Now, some of the pros and cons of Lakewood Ranch would be lots of real estate options fitting virtually everyone's budget. Pro: many of these new construction amenity-rich communities also require a lot higher HOA fees and CDD fees on top of that. Con: Lakewood Ranch has a lot of events and activities put on for people of all ages. Pro: there are a ton of walking and biking paths with large sidewalks that wind throughout Lakewood Ranch, allowing for a really active and outdoor lifestyle. Again, another pro. Now, if you're interested in knowing the prices of homes in Lakewood Ranch or any of the other areas I'll be talking about in this video, I created a guide breaking down the current real estate sales numbers to give you the most accurate and up-to-date info. And if you're interested in that resource, you can find it at the first link in the description below, completely for free. All right, now who do I think would and wouldn't fit into Lakewood Ranch's lifestyle? Well, let's start off with those who I think would. The people who are interested in going out and being active in their community, attending farmers markets, live music events. People who are interested in buying a new construction home. Those who want lots of amenities in their neighborhoods like big clubhouses, resort-style pools, lots of recreational sports courts, who don't mind paying $500 a month for those amenities. Now, who do I think wouldn't fit in well with Lakewood Ranch? Those who despise HOA communities wouldn't like Lakewood Ranch. Most, if not all, neighborhoods in here are going to have some sort of HOA with rules and restrictions. People who may not mind having an HOA, but the thought of paying $300 a month on top of CDD fees, which could be $2,000 to $3,000 a year, is an outrageous thought. You're also not going to like Lakewood Ranch. Now, if you're somebody who doesn't want to live in a really cookie-cutter neighborhood where every house looks the same, with the same landscaping, the same paint color, well, you might not find what you're looking for in Lakewood Ranch either. And the biggest thing of them all, if you don't want to be driving 45 minutes, sometimes over an hour to get to the beach, then again, Lakewood Ranch ain't going to be for you. All right, here we are in North Sarasota, and North Sarasota includes very popular neighborhoods like the Meadows, Palm Air, and University Park. This area is located just west of I-75 and north of Fruitville Road. Most real estate options here are resale homes typically built from the early 80s to the mid 2000s. Again, if you want to find pricing for this area specifically, click the link in my description below. Palm Air and University Park are really popular communities with lots of amenities like social club memberships, outdoor sports facilities, pools, and a ton more. North Sarasota is a very established area, which is nice if you enjoy walking under the shade of large oak trees, kind of like the area I'm in now, or you just enjoy the look of them surrounding the area you live in. North Sarasota is also a great central location where you can be under 30 minutes from downtown and the popular beaches around here. Plus, you're close enough to Lakewood Ranch to be able to enjoy all of the fun activities that go on there. UTC, which is our very own popular shopping center, is also really close, basically just a few miles away, as well as every shopping store that you could basically imagine. Okay, now who do I think would best fit in North Sarasota? Well, anybody who enjoys really established areas. Golfers looking to be in close proximity to some of the top-rated golf courses in Sarasota. People who want to enjoy the best that Sarasota has to offer in a really central and convenient location. People who are really active and want to enjoy everything that is outdoor Florida lifestyle. Walking, biking, playing tennis or pickleball, or just having quick, convenient access to public green spaces like this. Plus, a bonus of this area is that you're not going to have as much kind of cookie cutter designs as you would in an area like Lakewood Ranch. Most homes are landscaped differently. Each neighborhood kind of has their own home design and vibe. Now, people who I don't think would enjoy living in North Sarasota are people who believe 80s and 90s built homes are just way too old and too dated. People who don't want to be surrounded by large and mature oak trees kind of looming over their home. And that's really all I've got for North Sarasota. It's pretty much a great area. Next up, we have downtown Sarasota, and I love downtown. I mean, there really isn't a more walkable area in town, and because we're located right on Sarasota Bay, you can have that city lifestyle and that waterfront lifestyle basically all in one. There are really 3 to 4 main parts of downtown Sarasota, from Burns Court, which is a really historic and very artistic area with a few single-family homes and lots of eclectic shopping boutiques. Then there's Laurel Park, which is a small vintage neighborhood with lots of single-family homes to choose from. They're basically old Florida cottages built mainly in the early 20s. And no, I don't mean 2020, I mean 1920. Then there's Gillespie Park, similar to Laurel Park with predominantly single-family homes that are older. Gillespie Park is seeing a lot of money being poured into it right now as investors and builders are buying up all the smaller, older homes and tearing them completely down and building much larger modern mansions. And then finally, you have downtown proper, and this is the area that everybody really thinks of when they think of downtown Sarasota. This area has all the fun shopping and dining and all of that stuff, but really the only option for housing in downtown proper are condos. But because of that, I feel like you get the best of both worlds in downtown Sarasota. Not only do you get to be in the center of all the fun action going on throughout the year, like live music, block parties, festivals, and farmers markets, but you also get to enjoy a more quiet and relaxed lifestyle because downtown Sarasota isn't as action-packed and fast-paced as basically any other downtown I've ever seen. Now, I'm sure you're curious, what are some of the pros and cons of living in downtown Sarasota? Well, with this area, it's really all about perspective. If you're somebody who doesn't want to live near a lot of people, or you want to live on a property with lots of land, well then obviously downtown ain't gonna be for you. If you don't want to be close to all of the events and activities that happen here, and you think that you might be annoyed by all of the noise and the increased traffic and people, then again, downtown's not going to be for you. But if you're somebody who could see yourself doing a lot of walking, enjoying the local coffee shops and restaurants within walking distance, and you could see yourself enjoying being in the center of it all, then you're going to love downtown Sarasota. Oh, and obviously it's gonna be one of the more expensive areas on this list, so there's that. Again, if you wanna know what the average and median price of a home in downtown is, you can check it out by clicking the first link in the description. Now, west of the trail is one of the most desirable locations in all of Sarasota to live. It's located just south of downtown Sarasota, and it's the whole area west of Tamiami Trail, hence the name west of the trail. Here you can find tons of large estate-like properties, but it's not the house that people desire here. It's the location. Being right on or near the Sarasota Bay and only a few miles to downtown and a stone's throw away from Siesta Key and Lido Key Beach is what makes west of the trail such a desired area. Because of that, the pricing is going to reflect such a high desirability here. For example, if you're looking at a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 1,800 square foot home west of the trail, it's probably going to be at least 50% more expensive compared to an area if you were looking at a similar 3-bedroom, 1,800 square foot in, say, the Big Middle or northern Sarasota. West of the trail is also going to have the oldest homes in Sarasota. It really was the first area to be built out in Sarasota because it was even such a desirable place to live 100 years ago. Because most of the homes are 50 to 100 years old, there is a lot of work and renovations being done to many of the houses out here. I mean, most of them have already been completely redone while still keeping their historic exterior design and charm. I find that people who love west of the trail are those who absolutely love downtown Sarasota, but they really didn't want to live in downtown Sarasota. Here you can have your single family house and still be less than a mile or two to downtown. Voters and those who want to live near the water also fall in love with west of the trail for its easy access to the Sarasota Bay and the Gulf of Mexico. Many of the homes and neighborhoods have their own private boat docks, which takes away that hassle of having to store, tow, and launch your own boat every single time you want to get out on the water. Many people also just fall in love with the neighborhoods here. I mean, driving around, it's hard not to, especially with the beautifully designed homes, each one completely different than the next. The beautiful tree-lined streets providing ample shade to walk under. This really is an amazing place to live, and you're right next to basically everything. Of course, that comes with a high price tag. All right, now the big middle of Sarasota is going to cover the largest area on this list. It's going to cover everything from Fruitville Road down to Clark, everything west of I-75 and east of Tamiami Trail. The big middle is packed with neighborhoods both with and without HOAs. Here you'll see mostly 1,300 to 2,000 square foot ranch-style homes with low HOA fees, if really any at all. This area is clearly the most centrally located on this list, so you're not in a bad location at all. In most of this area, you're gonna see the same driving distance to the beach as you are to downtown and UTC and even Lakewood Ranch, which is really nice to have in your back pocket. Because you're not really gonna see a ton of really big houses on really large lots, the big middle's a relatively more affordable area compared to a lot of the other areas we've seen so far. Like northern Sarasota, this area is also really established. Homes here are older as well, ranging from the early 60s kind of into the mid to late 90s. Who do I think would really enjoy living in the big middle? Well, it's somebody who would want freedom to do whatever they want with their property, or at least somebody who doesn't care if they live next to somebody who doesn't care what they do with their property. People who don't mind living in a home that might be somewhere ranging from 1,100 to 1,800 square feet, or doesn't mind that the home was built in the late 70s all the way to the late 2000s. If you have a tight or restrictive budget, the big middle is a great place to start looking because of the age of homes and the smaller home sizes here, you find more affordable housing. People I don't think would enjoy an area like the big middle are those who want a neighborhood with lots of amenities or newer homes. Somebody who cares not only about how their house looks, but how every other house around them looks isn't going to like the big middle. Well, unless you could find one that's been nicely maintained in an HOA neighborhood, which there are a few of kind of sprinkled throughout, but majority is non-HOA. If you need a house larger than 2,000 square feet, or you want to be on a larger lot than maybe 1/6 of an acre, you're gonna have a tough time finding that in the big middle as well. Okay, next up we have east of I-75, and this area goes all the way from Fruitville Road down to Clark Road, and it's everything east of I-75. This area is kind of like the country out in Sarasota. Here you'll find your homes with horses, you'll find your homes with goats and cows and cattle and all of those things that you kind of get out in the country. Now there's also a ton of new construction kind of coming out this way, as it really is the last area that hasn't been totally developed out here in Sarasota. East of I-75 definitely has that slower pace of lifestyle compared to the western side of 75. There isn't as much shopping and retail out this way yet. But because of that, the traffic out here really isn't as heavy as the other areas. Now, I will be honest, it is kind of getting that way out here though. I would consider east of I-75 the next up and coming area of Sarasota. And I can imagine a Lakewood Ranch type of development to begin out here in the near future, meaning if you're somebody who is interested in moving to Sarasota, you might be able to get the best value here now before it becomes even more popular. People who enjoy living in east of I-75 are those who are looking for a more quiet environment. Maybe someone who's looking for more space between their neighbors and increased privacy. If you want to have a farm or just a house with lots of land, east of I-75 really is the only place to do that. All right, now that wraps up east of I-75. Now we're heading to the last two areas of Sarasota, and these are by far my favorite parts of town. Let's go check out the next one. All right, now that first area of my last two favorite areas is Gulfgate. Now, Gulfgate is located just a mile away from the South Bridge to Siesta Key. Homes here were developed in the 70s and beyond, and it has its own fun little downtown area full of shopping and dining. Gulfgate really appeals to those who want to be close to the beach, as this is one of the closest areas in all of Sarasota to Siesta Key. Homes in Gulfgate are smaller, ranging from 900 to around 1,800 square feet. Of course, you can find a larger home, but most typically you're gonna see 1,200 to 1,600 square foot, 2-bedroom homes. And they all have that kind of classic old Florida 70s look with the low hung ceilings and the classic cinder block construction, typically with a 1-car garage or a carport, and you almost always see kind of the washer and dryer outside in the garage. Because homes are older and smaller, similar to an area like the Big Middle, you can find more affordable homes here. You can also find a really nice fixer-upper in Gulfgate, as well as homes that have been remodeled. People tend to visit Gulfgate and fall in love not only with the area and the proximity to the beaches, but also the charming neighborhood feel, the walkability, and the downtown area. I find that Gulfgate is great for those who really don't need a really large house. Many people buy in Gulfgate as a second home to vacation to while they're here. First-time home buyers looking for a more older, more affordable area to live, and finally investors looking for a property that they can remodel and either sell or rent out monthly to vacationers looking to be near the beach. Now, people who wouldn't enjoy Gulfgate are those who need a bigger home, maybe larger than 2 bedrooms or a small 3-bedroom house. People who are looking for a home newer than the 70s or the 80s, or those wanting a neighborhood with a slightly nicer curb appeal. Okay guys, now here we are at the last area, and this is my absolute favorite area in all of Sarasota. It's quiet, it's residential, it's about 3 to 5 miles from Siesta Key Beach, it's beautifully maintained, and it has some of the most housing options in all of town. That area is Palmer Ranch. Now, Palmer Ranch is located in the southern Sarasota area. It's west of I-75 and just east of Beneva Road. It's south of Clark, and it spreads all the way down into Nokomis. For those of you looking to live in a more quiet and residential area where there aren't a ton of cars constantly driving by your house, then Palmer Ranch is a great option for you. Now, because this whole area was master planned, kind of before master planned communities were really even a thing back in the mid to late 90s, you don't see a lot of commercial businesses inside of Palmer Ranch. That being said, all of the grocery stores like Publix, Costco, Walmart, etc., they're all just on the outside main roads leading into the area, meaning a quick trip to the grocery store really only takes 5 minutes or less. On that same note, Palmer Ranch is by far the best manicured and maintained area in all of Sarasota. I know that may sound like a personal opinion of mine, but if you came here and you drove through every area of Sarasota like I've done a million times over the last 25 years, you would be saying the same thing, I promise you. There's a landscaping truck basically every time I drive through here, laying new mulch, trimming shrubs and trees, or planting new flowers in the beds of the medians in between the roads. It's like that extra step that really sets this area apart from the rest. Palmer Ranch also has a ton of options for homes as well. If you're looking for a luxury mansion on a prestigious golf course, then a neighborhood like Prestantia would be perfect for you. But if you're looking for maybe a more affordable condo, say around the $200,000 range, then a condo complex like Vintage Grand would better fit you. No matter if you're looking for a condo, a townhouse, a villa, or a single family home, Palmer Ranch has got you covered. And the best part is almost every neighborhood in Palmer Ranch is about 3 to 5 miles from the best beaches in the United States. Now, another new and extremely important benefit of Palmer Ranch that has been uncovered that only solidifies why this is my favorite part of Sarasota of all time, it's extremely resilient to hurricanes and flooding. In the past year, there have been over 3 major storms to hit Sarasota. One tropical storm that has brought record amounts of rain and unbelievable flooding. But then the next month we got another hurricane, and right after that, in October, we got a direct hit from a Category 3 hurricane. Now, after all of that beating from Mother Nature, there really wasn't a part of Sarasota that hadn't seen some form of damage. But as I explored Palmer Ranch, this area had by far the least amount of damage out of anywhere else. They had virtually no flooding at the time of all the rains and storms. They barely had any damage to the homes. I mean, the worst damage I saw here were some of the really large oak trees kind of had some branches that were down. Many people had foliage in their yard, but other than that, Palmer Ranch was clear. I mean, it amazed me to see. Okay, now another thing. If you are a family that has school-aged kids, then Palmer Ranch needs to be on your short list of areas to explore, as most neighborhoods in this area are districted for what I call the Big Three. Now, the big three are the three most desired schools in all of Sarasota County, and they include Ashton Elementary, Sarasota Middle School, and Riverview High School. I can personally attest to how amazing all of these schools are, as I grew up attending all three of them. Now, that's not to say that Sarasota doesn't have amazing school options outside of the big three, but these are, in my experience, and according to niche.com and greatschools.com, the most highly rated and most desired schools in town. So what kind of person would really enjoy an area like Palmer Ranch? Well, somebody looking for a quieter area with a stronger community feel. An area where they could drive outside of their neighborhood and not be greeted by gridlock traffic. Somebody who loves to live in an established and beautifully landscaped area, and definitely somebody who wants options and variation when it comes to the homes, design, styles, and things like that. Oh, and those who want family-friendly amenities and activities, and obviously amazing schools for their kids. Now, people I know wouldn't enjoy living in Palmer Ranch are those who dislike HOAs. That really is the only negative I have on Palmer Ranch. Every community in this area is going to have some sort of HOA, whether it's a smaller one that's kind of less restrictive and more lenient, and those typically are around $100 to $200 a month. While there are other really more active and involved HOA communities that have clubhouses with all of those fun amenities, the full-time activities directors, and if you're looking at one of those neighborhoods, you could be looking at basically $400 to $500 a month in HOA fees. Now, one other benefit though that comes with that living in Palmer Ranch is that you don't have to deal with the CDD fees that basically all of the other new construction areas in Sarasota are tacking on top of their neighborhoods. So that is a little benefit there. You're not paying maybe $2,000, $3,000, or $4,000 a year on top of your HOAs. Just something to think about. Now, I know I've said it a couple times, but if you're interested in Palmer Ranch and you want to know more about this area and what prices for homes are looking like here, then you've got to go down in the description and download my Sarasota neighborhood pricing breakdown. It's going to break down all of the costs, all of the active inventory from condos to townhouses to single families, what those average and median prices are looking like. And I'm doing it for every single area of Sarasota, and it's constantly being updated monthly. Again, if you want all of that, it's going to be the first link in the description. You can download it absolutely for free. Now, if you've watched this far into this video, you probably are curious to know what my favorite neighborhoods are in each one of these parts of town. A little hint, I'm standing in front of one of them right now. If you want to watch that video, check it out right here.